Sometimes, it's not the things we see that shatter our world, it's the things we hear when we're not supposed to. This is the story of how a single overheard conversation destroyed a 30-year marriage I thought was unbreakable. If stories like this move you, inspire you, or open your eyes, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another one. I never thought my life would come undone because of a few words spoken behind a half-closed door, but sometimes the smallest things reveal the biggest truths, and I suppose that's the cruel irony of my story, the one I am about to tell you in full, with no illusions left, no attempts to polish over the pain, because the pain itself is what shaped me into the person I became after 30 years of a marriage I believed was built on trust, on loyalty, on the kind of love that could weather storms, but what I discovered instead was that storms don't always come crashing loudly. Sometimes they whisper in hushed voices, drifting through thin walls, tearing apart the life you thought you had, and leaving you stranded in a silence you never imagined would be yours to bear. My marriage to Daniel began in the summer of 1992, when we were both young, foolish, and filled with the belief that love was enough to build forever upon. I was 24, he was 27, and we met at a friend's barbecue where neither of us wanted to be, both of us clutching plastic cups of warm beer, half committed to conversations with strangers, until our eyes locked across the crowded backyard and something unspoken drew us toward each other. He had the kind of smile that made you think you could trust him instantly, and his laugh was genuine, full-bodied, not forced or rehearsed, and when he spoke to me, it felt like the world had gone quiet, like every sound, every conversation around us dimmed just so I could hear him. Within 6 months we were inseparable, within a year engaged, and in less than 2 years married in a small church surrounded by family, friends, and the kind of optimism only the young truly possess. We built our home brick by brick, literally and metaphorically, because we saved for our first house together, painted the walls, planted the garden, and later filled it with the cries and laughter of 2 children, Emily and Jacob, who became the center of our world, the anchor that kept us grounded during times when money was tight, jobs were stressful, or when our dreams seemed far away. For 3 decades, I thought we had done it right. We fought, yes, like every couple, but we always found our way back, always promised never to go to bed angry, always believed we were stronger than whatever life threw at us. Birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, they were all marked by traditions, laughter, photos that lined the shelves, proof that love could last if you worked hard enough at it. Or so I thought. The unraveling didn't come with a dramatic affair discovered in some hotel room, or a sudden confession of betrayal shouted in anger. It came quietly, on an ordinary Tuesday night, when I passed by the study door and heard my husband's voice, low, serious, laced with emotions I couldn't immediately name. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop. I was carrying a basket of folded laundry, moving toward the bedroom, when I caught his tone, and something instinctual made me pause. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear him speaking softly, the way he used to when he was trying to comfort me or our children, but the words, once they filtered into my brain, shattered something inside me. "I can't do this anymore," he said. 30 years, it feels like a life sentence, and I don't even recognize myself when I'm with her. I feel trapped, suffocated. I know she doesn't deserve this, but I can't pretend forever. I don't love her the way I used to. Maybe I don't love her at all. My heart stopped, and for a moment I thought I had misheard, thought he was talking about someone else, about a friend or a coworker, but then he said my name, attached to words like, tired, and done, and empty, and I knew. My husband, the man I had shared 30 years of my life with, had been carrying this secret truth in his heart while lying beside me every night, holding my hand, smiling across the dinner table, and I didn't know how to breathe. My knees buckled, and I pressed myself against the wall, desperate not to make a sound, because I needed to hear everything, even though every word was a dagger. He wasn't speaking to another woman, as I first feared, he was talking to his brother, confiding over the phone. "I don't want to break her," he said. "She gave me everything, her youth, her loyalty, our children, but I feel like I've already broken myself. I stay because it's easier, because it's what's expected, but every day feels like a lie." I stood there, frozen, laundry basket still in my arms, listening to the life I thought was real dissolve into dust. He talked about moments I remembered as beautiful, our trip to Italy for our 20th anniversary, the night we renewed our vows, even Christmas mornings with the kids, As if they were obligations, performances he had staged so no one would suspect the truth. And then came the worst part. Sometimes, he whispered, I imagine what it would be like to just leave, to pack a bag and disappear. To start over, to feel free again. I couldn't listen anymore. My body moved on its own, carrying me into the bathroom where I locked the door, dropped the basket, and pressed my hand against my mouth to stop from sobbing out loud. 30 years. 30 years of believing in a love that had apparently died long ago for him, while for me it had been alive, vibrant, the very foundation of who I was. The days that followed were a blur of numbness and sharp, cutting clarity. Every look he gave me, every touch, felt like an echo of a performance, like I was seeing it all with new eyes. I replayed our past like a film, searching for clues, for signs I had missed, and I hated myself for not noticing. Had he always been this distant? Had I been so consumed with the children, the house, the day-to-day, that I hadn't seen his love fading? Or was it that he had hidden it so well, a skilled actor in the theater of our marriage, and I, the willing audience, eager to believe? I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I watched. I listened. I collected the pieces of evidence, not of infidelity, but of indifference, of disconnection, of a heart that no longer beat in sync with mine. He kissed me goodnight but his eyes wandered elsewhere. He asked about my day but didn't hear the answers. He laughed, but the laughter didn't reach me anymore. And in that silence between us, I began to grieve, not for what was, but for what I now knew had never truly been for him. The night I finally confronted him is etched into my memory like a scar. We were sitting at the kitchen table, the kids both grown and gone, the house too quiet for the storm that was about to erupt. I looked at him, really looked at him, and asked, when did you stop loving me? The color drained from his face, and in that moment, I saw the truth in his eyes before he even spoke. He tried to deny it, to reassure me, but I cut him off. I heard you, I said. I heard everything. The silence that followed was heavier than any argument we had ever had. He dropped his head into his hands, and for the first time, he looked small to me, weak, not the strong man I had married but a man who had run out of courage long before this conversation. I'm sorry, he whispered, and, though the words were simple, they carried the weight of 3 decades, the collapse of a lifetime. We talked, or maybe argued, for hours. He admitted he had felt this way for years, that he stayed out of duty, out of fear, out of habit, but not out of love. He swore there was no one else, and maybe that was true, but the absence of another woman didn't soften the blow. The betrayal wasn't about infidelity of the body, it was about the infidelity of the heart, the quiet erosion of something I had believed was eternal. Divorce was not immediate. 30 years cannot be undone with a single signature. We tried counseling, tried to patch the holes, but love cannot be resurrected once it has been buried for so long. The papers were signed 2 years later, and when the judge stamped them, it felt like the final nail in the coffin of a life I had devoted myself to. People say you find yourself after divorce, that you rediscover your identity, but what they don't tell you is that the process of rebuilding is brutal, that the silence of an empty house can feel like punishment, that birthdays and holidays become fractured when the family you built together scatters into separate celebrations. But they also don't tell you that eventually, you breathe again. Eventually, the tears stop. Eventually, you learn that overhearing that conversation, as devastating as it was also the beginning of my freedom, the first crack in the illusion that allowed the light of truth to seep in. I lost a husband, but I found a strength I didn't know I had. I found friendships that deepened when I needed them most, I found passions I had abandoned while playing the role of wife and mother, and most importantly, I found myself, scarred, yes, but still standing. If I could go back, would I rather not have heard that conversation? Part of me says yes, because ignorance would have allowed me to live in the bliss of my illusions. But the stronger part of me, the part that has learned to stand alone, says no. Because sometimes the truth, no matter how painful, is the only thing that sets you free. And so here I am, telling you this story, not because I want pity or sympathy, but because I want you to understand that love is not always what it seems, that sometimes the person you trust most is the one who can hurt you the deepest, and that no matter how many years you've invested, no matter how much history you've shared, you deserve a love that is real, not a performance designed to keep you quiet. And if you find yourself in a moment where the truth slips through a crack in the door, don't run from it. Listen. Because it might just save you, the way it saved me, even though it broke me first. If this story shook something inside you, if it made you reflect on love, loyalty, or the hidden truths in relationships, don't just leave quietly. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful, life-changing stories. Your support helps these truths reach the people who need them most.